This stat always blows me away. Guess how much of your life is habitual, meaning it's just on autopilot. Is it 10%, 20%, 30%? Conservatively, 40% of everything you do on a day-to-day is just autopilot. It is habitual. You're not even thinking about it. So when we talk about changing your life, the best place to go is not your thoughts, is not your beliefs, is not your stories, is not getting you really motivated. It's simple daily habits. Those are what will impact that 40% that is massive for you. And so in this video, you and I are going to explore 5 high vibe habits that I think if you do 1 or 2 of these will put you in a good vibe, my friend. One other note is these are more deep frameworks. So this video might be more abstract and deeper, but I know you're gonna gain 1 or 2 of these that if done, will change you permanently. Before we just dive into the habit, let's first define what it means to be in a high vibe state. Pretty important. To which I will reference this very official Pinterest photo. It looks something like this, where you got low vibes on the bottom and high vibes on top. I've showed you this in other videos and I erased the drawing and was too lazy, admittedly, to draw it up again. So if you and I rank order all the emotions you could feel on a given day, you'd probably have emotions that are lower: shame, guilt, fear, anger, and then some neutral ones: courage, willingness, neutrality, before getting to the top ones, which are peace, love, energy, expression, enlightenment. Put another way, think of vibrations like a speed of a car. If you're vibrating really slow, it's low output, it's low speed, it's low gear, it's low energy. As you start to move up, you accelerate and you start to move faster. With that fast speed, you have more energy in your life. With more energy, you can do more, you can attract more, you can be more, you can feel more, you can be more in the present moment. And if you do that consistently, your life is going to be better. Habit number 1. Let's set this habit up a little bit together. So one of my favorite studies split participants in 3 groups. They had the first group come in and do a 1-finger workout, where they just lifted their finger for 5 times a week for an hour, and they measured it before and after. Group number 2 was the control. So they didn't do anything. They literally did not lift a finger. And group number 3 just visualized that finger lifting up and down. Now, at the end of the study, what do you think happened? Group 1, their finger strength grew 30%, a substantial increase. Group number 2, 0% change. Nothing happened because they didn't lift a finger. Now, where this gets interesting, the group that just visualized their finger going up and down got a 22% increase in their finger strength. Mind you, they didn't physically lift their finger. They just imagined it. They visualized it. So this brings us to a point that your brain doesn't know the difference between something you vividly imagine and actually experience in your reality. So this habit is visualization. Most people operate in a box that they put themselves in as being realistic. What's realistic for me? What's plausible for me? And they never allow themselves the opportunity to think outside that container. But when you realize that your brain doesn't know the difference between something you imagine and actually experience, you can start visualizing different versions of you, further ahead, crushing it. You can start visualizing your dream life. So this first habit, every day, visualize the 2.0 version of you. Now, there are so many ways you can do this. You can create a vision board. And beyond just like The Secret, where it's like some cork board and you're cutting out magazine clippings, that's not what I'm saying. There's a cool way you can make a vision board. We have videos on this channel, something that feels modern, up-to-date, natural, and that you want to look at. Another way is you can write out your dream perfect day. This is a journal exercise you can do where you literally just make a schedule. Okay, so like, what time are you getting up? What time are you going to bed? What are you doing every single hour of that day? Like, who is that 2.0 you? What kind of results do you have? Where do you live? What kind of house are you in? What car are you driving? All the easy material things, and then down to like the feelings you feel. In my Metamorphic program, we spend the first 2 weeks designing this 2.0 version of you, reinventing yourself, reimagining what's possible, breaking free of this container that you're told to be stuck in, and so your whole life is conformed to it. And what we find is that when people start tuning themselves to this 2.0 version of them every single day, the results that people get are just amazing. So habit number 1, find a way every day that you can visualize this dream version of you. High vibe habit number 2. When you think about your mood, what do you want more of? Chances are it's peace, presence, feeling authentic, not feeling so in your head and insecure. And if you think of what you want less of that would contribute to you living high vibe, living your best life, it'd probably be like less fear, less anxiety, less being in my head. What are they thinking of me? There's some good research out there on mindfulness and meditation that it gives you just that. That in as little as 8 weeks, meditating for 12 minutes a day, the parts of your brain associated with empathy, compassion, love, increase in activity. And the parts of your brain, like your amygdala, that's fight or flight, it's your sympathetic nervous system being turned on, it's that anxiety, it's that jitters of what will go wrong, start to decrease. In as little as 12 minutes a day, you get more of the best things in life: compassion, empathy, love, presence, and you get less of the ick, what we're trying to get out of. Oh, and meditation is completely free, and it's something you can do pretty much anywhere. I started picking up a meditation practice again, and one of the things I did, it's been 557 days or something like that, I quit drinking. What was so fascinating is the more I researched neuroscience and biology, drinking numbs that prefrontal cortex. And if you know anything about your brain and your prefrontal cortex, I'm not a neuroscientist, I don't claim to be, but when you research it, it's involved in future casting. When you are anxious, it's because you're visualizing things going wrong. And so if you're prone to anxiety or you're prone to overthinking, like myself, you notice that you self-medicate through drinking to calm down, to slow down. So it's good that I gave up drinking, one of the best things I've done. But what I was left with were these racing thoughts about the future, was social anxiety that I had never really been aware of my whole 20s. And so what I did is I picked up meditation. And what I found is that it gave me a lot of the same benefits that drinking did, except it was a positive instead of a depressant. So practically, how do you start meditating if you're new to it or you're getting back into it like I was? First is what I do when I sit down is I do immediately 2 rounds of breath work. Whether you want to do Wim Hof, we have breathwork videos on this channel. That is sort of an activity you can do to just keep that overactive mind in check, gives it something to do. And then what you do is just observe your thoughts. You don't try to change them. You don't judge them. You don't wrestle with them and say, that's a bad thought, I'm a bad person. No. And you don't let yourself get up for 10, 15 minutes after that. Watch how much more presence you have in your day to day. High vibe habit number 3, developing a consistent journaling practice. In this book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, she talks about an exercise called morning pages. The exercise is simple. Every morning you fill up 1 sheet of paper with a stream of consciousness writing. And in dumping out everything that's in your head, your internal chatter, like meditation, it clears you out. An analogy to use is if you had a big jar of mud, tons of dirt in there, it's like the dirtiest jar you can get, and you shake it up, well, it's gonna look black, brown. But if you just let it sit, all the sediment's gonna float to the bottom, and on top, you're gonna have pure water. You're the same way, that when you have all your thoughts just racing over and over, sometimes you just need to let them chill out a bit, and all the sediment's gonna float down, and what you're left with is the pure you. If there's one habit I could recommend for you, it would be journaling. I have been keeping a journal now for over 10 years, and we've developed our own method here on the channel. I'm not saying it's the best one in the world. That's not what I'm saying. Just what has worked for me. It's where you take a journal and you divide it up into 6 sections, and each one of those serves a purpose. You have a front and back cover where you write out that 2.0 vision of yourself, and the back cover has more of like your goals that you want to achieve. Journaling is sort of the active form of meditation, where meditation can be a bit passive, like you're just allowing it. So if you find meditation really hard, I have found journaling to be a great substitute or an addition if you're already doing meditation consistently. And you might be thinking, well, what do I write in my journal? You can Google journaling prompts, and it is amazing how 1 or 2 of those can spark you on a self-discovery journey. High vibe habit number 4. This next habit is more of an exercise mindset than like necessarily a technique that you're going to do every day. And that is developing self-awareness. I want to set this up a bit. So Martin P. Seligman is one of the founders in positive psychology. He's a therapist who said, hey, we've gotten really good at taking people who are like depressed, who are low vibe, and getting them back up to baseline. But where we might be missing the mark with psychology is taking people who are at a level 0, 1, 2 and getting them to a 10, 11, 12, as high as we can go. So not just talking about the problems, but giving solutions. And so that's what he studied. How do we make people as high vibe as possible? How do we make people as happy as possible? And so he looked at people who were happy, who were on a day-to-day vibing higher. You know what he found? All these people had in common. They knew their strengths and they use them often. That if you want to have a life where you feel truly alive and high vibe, you have to know your strengths and use them often. And the beauty is everybody's strengths are different. So I have found that to A, know your strengths, whether that's a Myers-Briggs personality type, whether that's AuthenticHappiness.com where he has a signature strength test that's free, and B, figuring out how you can use them, massively beneficial. For example, my strengths when I took that test is creativity, love of learning, curiosity, wisdom, hope, humor, and playfulness. And I notice that the times where I feel low vibe are when I'm not using those strengths. When I'm just doing admin and when I'm doing my taxes, there's not a lot of humor and playfulness in that, is there? So I found a good accountant. On the flip side, when I'm creating YouTube videos and I get to learn and I get to talk about ideas that have a lot of wisdom behind them, and I get to crack a few bad jokes in here and have a playful energy with it, I feel alive. I feel on fire. I can't wait to do it, which is why we've been doing it now hard for 5 years. And since we started, over 10 years. But guess what? Your strengths might not be the same as mine. So filming a YouTube video might be terrible advice for you. Even going deeper than knowing your strengths, figuring out what's true for you. And this is a good daily journaling habit or weekly journaling habit. Ask yourself, what does happiness mean to you? What's your philosophy on it? What does courage mean to you? What does a good life mean to you? What does marriage mean to you? Like, take any big concept. It is amazing how so many people, if you ask them, they've never thought about it. People will say, I don't feel like I know myself, or I can't find my passion, or I don't know what makes me happy. And it's because they literally haven't even sat with that question and asked. You have so many answers within you. And this is the advice I tell my metamorphic clients is, look, sometimes you need to stop looking for the answers and you need to start listening to them. Every single one of you is the leader of your life, and there's questions that no one can answer for you. And that's about building values and character and your own belief system. And I think that when you have that internal constitution and that self-awareness, and you know your strengths and you're using them often, you're not only going to have more confidence, but you're going to be in a higher vibe too. High vibe habit number 5. This last one is on energy management. It's a saying as old as time that you are what you eat. There's a reason a lot of the gurus, the spiritual ones, preach diet in their spiritual teachings. They're vegetarian or they're vegan, which, how do you know if someone's vegan? They'll tell you. You are what you eat. We all know that. I didn't have the worst diet in the world, but I knew it could be better. And so what I've been doing the last 60 days has been a series of 30-day tests. Treat yourself like a human guinea pig. Put things through your own experience, your own tests. Not only have I had a lot of fun with this 30-day test frame, but I've started to see a big difference in my energy, in my presence, in my vibe. Couple examples. Cut out sugar completely for the last 20-something days. I didn't say I'm never going to eat sugar again. I said I'm just going to do a 30-day test and see how that goes. I feel dialed. I feel fantastic. I also cut out diet soda, artificial sweeteners. I cut it out and noticed a big difference. My thoughts are clearer. I'm more grounded. So my point is, start doing some 30-day tests on yourself. Don't just say, well, diet soda is okay because I saw this guy on TikTok doing meta-analysis reviews and he says aspartame actually doesn't cause cancer. Cut it out and see if you feel better. Again, going back to your own experience trumping what other people says. So my advice to you would be to write down 2 or 3 things that you could remove that would make you feel more energetic. And if you feel called, try and cut it out for 30 days. Like, reduce the commitment from I'm never going to eat sugar again to for 30 days, I'm going to experiment with no processed sugar. For 30 days, I'm going to experiment with going to the gym 5 times a week. For 30 days, I'm going to cut out alcohol. Just see how you feel at the end. Because if there's one thing I've learned with self-improvement, sometimes it's not about what we're doing. It's unfortunately, I know, it's about what we're not doing. It's about what we're eliminating. Hope that you dig the video, and I hope that 1 or 2 of these habits you'll take, you'll run with, and you'll try. You might just find that it raises your vibe. So we've been talking about raising your vibe, and I want to link up here another video on this topic that's equally as important. It's on shadow work. This will help you raise your vibe massively. I'll see you in that video. Stop settling, start living. See ya.